Welcome to the Boris Continuum Complete for Vegas Pro training series. I'm John Rofrano for Boris TV, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at mastering materials. We're going to create a little logo, this motocross logo, and we're going to use a number of materials on it so I can show you how to use the material editor, and then we'll finish up with actually placing videos. You can see I've got a video of a motorcycle inside this. So let me show you how this is done. We're going to start by creating a new project, and then we'll insert a video track, and we'll insert an empty event. And then we'll bring up the plugin chooser to put Boris extruded text on there. Now we have a whole episode on how to create text with extruded text, so I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly until we get to the material part. Okay, now we'll launch the text window and type in our text. We'll apply that. And then I want to just change the transform on this, and we will have a whole episode on transforms, I promise. I just want to rotate it a bit, and I want to go down to this master scale and bring the scale up so it's a little closer to us. That's about right. Okay. And then finally, I just want to change the extrusion. And as I said, we do have an episode on extrusion that'll take you all through these presets. But I just want to change the extrusion there. Okay. All right, now before I start on the materials, I want to show you the front side material is enabled by default, but if we go look at the side material, you'll notice everything's grayed out. If I go look at the bevel material, everything's grayed out. And all of this is controlled by this material count, so that's the first thing you have to be aware of. Let me show you this material count and show you how to read this little box here. This is the number of materials, 1, 2, 3, or 4 materials. If you choose one material, it just uses the front material, which is the same material on all sides, and we'll start with that. Then if you want to use 2 materials, the way you read this is the slashes share materials, and then the commas separate materials. So front slash back means front and back will use the same material. Bevel slash side means the bevel and the side will use the same material. If you move on to 3 materials, then the front and back still share the same material, but bevel and side get their own materials. And then finally, if you want to use all 4 materials, front, back, bevel, and side have their own material. So let's start with one, and we'll go to the front and start working with some materials. Okay. There is a number of material presets that come with Boris, and then you can save your own, and I would encourage you to save your own. This way you don't have to make them every time. We'll just go and look through some of these. So here's a blue plastic looking one. Here's one called heat, and again I'm just down arrowing on my keyboard. Once I've got this box constructed, metal brush, chrome, bunch of different colors here. We're going to start with the default, that default gray, and then we'll go through all these parameters. So you can get the font texture from a file as you've seen. Now you'll notice there's a number of textures in here, but I've got one in here that you don't have, this one called Cloudy Sky, because I put it in here myself. So let me take this opportunity to show you how you can add textures to this list here. I've just gone out to my hard drive, under Program Files, you know, on the C drive or wherever you install Boris Effects Inc., then BCC Preset 7 OFX, which is the Sony Vegas version of BCC 7, and then under there, Custom Textures, and this is what's in the Custom Texture file. So these are all textures that Boris ships with the product. If you click on one, you'll notice they're just 512 by 512. They are tiled seamlessly. So it's really important that you make sure if you add any textures that they have seamless tiling. Boris actually got these from Genetica tile texture pack, and I happen to own a copy of Genetica, and so I generated this Cloudy Sky out of Genetica at 512 by 512, dropped it in here, restarted Vegas, and then it shows up in the box here. So you can add your own textures to any one of these. We'll just go look at some of them. Alien Alloy. I mean, you saw the textures in the box there. What we're going to use today is that brush chrome, that brush metal. Yeah, I kind of like that brush metal on the front to begin with. Now you'll notice that there's also this front texture layer here, and so we'll get back to that. I'll just show you now. If I make none, then this becomes available, and I could then use my source layer, and I'll show you how to use that. Let's go back to the brushed metal. And then if there was an alpha, you could determine how you want the alpha treated, and so you can create some really interesting textures and place them on your text with an alpha channel. And then there's the texture strength. So you can blend in the texture with whatever the blend is of the actual material that's on there. Here's where you get to do some coloring. You have this ambient intensity, which right now is gray. I'm going to go off and make this a little blue, because chrome has I want a little bit of bluish tint in my chrome here. Diffuse is the primary color, which will keep gray. And then I can go into my highlighting and make the highlighting white. And you'll see as soon as I made that white, you see how that popped up on the R up here, right? And again, I'm gonna get this into the blues, and then get it a little bit whiter here for my highlight. And I've got a specular strength. The specular strength is what's making it so shiny. So I can back off this specular strength, and then I can also increase the highlight amount, which is how much of it will get highlighted. So you have a lot of control over the highlights and the specular that is on the material. And then there's the opacity of the material, which will make the whole thing transparent or not. And we're going to use that on the sides in just a moment. The other thing you can do is you can place a bump map on here. The bump file comes out of the same folder, so I can go, I thought there was some diamond plate in here. So there's some diamond plate, and what it does is it uses that diamond plate file as a bump map. If I bring that up, we'll go look what that actual file looks like here. Here's a diamond plate. See kind of the rough plating that's on the floor of factories and whatnot, and here's a bunch of them here. So we've applied this diamond plate, and then we can control the bump strength. Right, that kind of really cuts into it, makes the bump map strong. So this is how you can take textures and blend them together. You can shift that X and Y, so you can get that right where you want it on the letters, and of course you can scale it up and down. So if you want those diamond plates to be smaller, we can scale it smaller, and then you'll see the diamond plates become smaller on there. So a lot of control over these textures that you apply. I'm just going to reset these for a moment, and I didn't want that effect on my final product, but I wanted to show you how it was done. And then we can go down, and also you can rotate, and then you've got reflection. And so in the reflection, we can add kind of an environment around this, so that things are reflecting. You can see this is low saturation. There's really high color. Here's kind of a blue reflection, and then you can control how much of the reflective material. Right here it is regular, and in here you can boost up the reflection and the scale of the reflective material. Right, you can see here it's changing how big the thing that's being reflected in it is. And I'm not going to use reflection on this front one. And then the final one is two-sided lighting. And that is whether there's lighting that kind of comes from the back as well as the front. You'll see how those shadows, right, that were all in black with two-sided lighting, they just kind of pop out. And sometimes you want to have lighting on both sides without having to put lights physically. Use one of your lights to be on both sides. So you could use two-sided lighting there. And I'm just going to, as a matter of fact, I'll keep that on for now because we'll look at the sides next. So that was our front material. Now I want to take and change this to say I'd like the front and back and the bevel sides to use a separate material. So I'm going to open up my side material, and it's no longer grayed out. So now I can apply a side material. Now for my side material, I just want to take kind of this, kind of that chrome-like color, and I want to, and all these settings are the same. I want to change the opacity of that. So now you can see the front kind of opaque, and then you can see the back through these letters. And let me rotate them so you can see how that looks. I'll go down to my transformations, and now I've got this really nice motocross lettering here with kind of brushed steel in the front and then kind of transparent around the edges, and really gives I think, a real classy look to this. Let me back this off in the master scale so you can see it, and we'll move it a little over to the side. And so there is our motocross lettering. Now remember I said we could add source media to any one of these surfaces, and I wanted to add it to the front. So let's go back and do that. I'm going to go back up to the front material, and we're going to take this texture file and remove it because the texture from a layer is not going to show up unless we make this none. So I'll say no texture file there, and then this becomes active, and I can say source layer. And as soon as I say source layer, you'll see that it goes black because we have an empty event. But you can see the nice specula here. That's kind of cool. Let's go to our Explorer. I'm going to right-click on a piece of media here and drag it while I'm right-clicking. I'm going to drag it onto this empty event. Important that I right-click and not left-click. And then when I release, I'm going to get a context menu where I can say Add as a Take. And as soon as I add it as a take, there you go. We'll play this. There you can see the video playing in the text. Now, notice it's cut off on the side here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can. I'm going to make it even worse. Let me go back down to transformations, bring up the master scale, and you can see it's cutting off on either side. The reason that's happening now and it wasn't happening before is because I dropped a 4:3 piece of media onto a 16:9 timeline. So what I have to do is I actually want to click on Event Pan Crop. Then I want to right-click on the media in Event Pan Crop and say Match Output Aspect. And that is going to crop it to match the output aspect of the project. And I noticed I created a little keyframe here, which I didn't want to do, so I'm going to cut that. I'm going to go over here and say Paste. That's where I really wanted that keyframe to be. And I actually want to crop it in just a little more because there's kind of black edges on here. Now you notice when I go back, I've got the video all the way across. And if we play it, it's playing in this media. I can loop it here and scale this back, and you can see that the media is playing inside the letters there. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. We've taken an in-depth look at materials, and hopefully we've learned a few things to really master how to use materials in BCC. This is John Rofrano for Boris TV. Until next time, thanks for watching.